Hi, and welcome to the Unhinged History Podcast, where we team up and introduce the crazy stories that we've been binging on our own and present it to you like you're in the room with us. Even though we don't even know that you're there, we're truly just doing this for our own edification. I'm your host, Theresa, and the other host is
Angie.
Welcome.
We're here to subject you to our fun.
You're gonna like it.
Dang it.
Or you're just gonna leave, and that's fine. Goodbye. All right, they're gone. All right.
They
So
kept scrolling.
now that it's just us.
Now that those that didn't want to be involved have left the room.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Pretty much. So what have you been up to?
Well, we have snow. That's exciting. I'm concerned about it because I'm supposed to take Ethan to the fairgrounds where they're hosting a yearly auction for one of the local schools.
Outside?
The auction is inside. But I did not realize how busy his day was today and how Ubery I have to be. So I'm hoping that by the time he needs to be places, it will be a little bit less slick.
Okay.
So yeah, it's fun. We're fun. It's fun.
I mean, you say that and so in the lower left of my screen, it has like a little weather setup, where it tells you the weather kind of deal. And right now it says 15 degrees, mostly cloudy. And I'm like, I came to this area because it didn't do that.
Yeah. Kidding. It does.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's fun.
You know what? Okay. I feel so bad because Ian's one of his oldest and dearest friends moved back to Australia. Brian and Raquel. You've met them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. So shortly before they left Australia, Raquel calls me and she's like, "Hey, what's the weather like? The winter weather like?" Because
obviously here and not in Australia,
right? Because their shipping pod was not going to arrive until like October. So she's like, I just want to make sure that we bring the right clothes with us now so that we're not freezing our butts off when October shows up. And I'm like, oh, girlfriend, no, you're fine. Like, we kind of really don't even experience winter. Like, I totally upsold warm weather in California.
Downplayed because upsold means you got them to like.
Yeah, I downplayed winter. But in my defense, like we haven't had a winter, like a real winter in like years. So I was like, yeah, no, like we don't even wear like real like thick coats until February. Like you're fine. And I got the phone and Ian was like, I can't believe you did that. We get winter in December. Like it's you need to call her back and tell her to at least package like a light jacket. Like I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, whatever, dude. We've had Christmas days where I'm outside in shorts and flip flops. Like, I'm not even gonna be worried about it.
Right.
This has been the worst winter we've had in like 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Raquel. I'm so sorry.
Okay, similar vein. I got one for you. When I was going to Japan as an exchange student, my grandmother was, she's like, okay, step on the scale, weigh yourself. Now pick up your suitcase, step on the scale. She goes, you have packed over 50 pounds in that suitcase. We're not going to get hit with an overweight charge. Take stuff out. I'm like, there's only essentials in here. And she goes through my bag and she's like, you need to pull out and one of the things that she made me pull out was a raincoat.
I feel like a raincoat is essential.
Okay. But anyhow, I was overweight. So she's like, pull out the raincoat. And that one item is the only item I remember that she pulled out. And the reason why I remember it is I'm in Japan. We're seated around the breakfast table. Like I've been there 2 weeks, right? And my host father says, we are expecting, how you say, typhoon. And I was like, the raincoat.
Damn it,
the raincoat. And meanwhile, grandma's like, yeah, I also pulled out 5 sweaters, 3 pairs of pants. You're like, I don't think that's really what I'm just making stuff up at this point. But I was just like, great. So I bought an extremely overpriced rain poncho from Disneyland because I was there when the storm hit. And the sleeves only went to like 3/4 length because my arms are American size and not my hands and feet are Japanese size, but my arms and legs are not.
Right.
And I was just like, fantastic.
Thanks.
Everything from mid forearm down is soaking wet, but I myself am covered.
I would have called grandma immediately and been like, hey, ship me my raincoat.
No, because it takes long and you're not going to overnight a raincoat because then you
Oh,
might,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you still have 2 weeks. And by that time, it just, no.
Yeah. By that time, the
Typhoon come and
typhoon's
gone.
over. Yeah. Dang it. Anyway, I would not have let grandma live it down. I would have been like, remember that time you sent me to Japan without my raincoat? Remember
And I
that time?
needed it for the typhoon.
Because you clearly didn't read the 10-day forecast.
But like my host mom, the house was on a hill and they had the best lightning storms.
Oh, I bet.
And I'm seated in a lawn chair on their front lawn. And my host mom looks out and I've got my headphones and Discman in my lap. And I'm sitting in my expensive rain poncho that only covers most of me. And she's looking at this going, she has an active energy source in her lap. She's going to get struck by lightning and it's going to be on my watch. Get your butt in this house.
I would have been like, hold it up. I want to see what happens.
I mean, like, I was living my best life and she had to mom me back into the home.
Oh, for shame. For
Exactly.
shame. Nothing is worse than that. I can tell you the amount of times we've had to mom Ethan back inside, like bud, 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 bud.
Yeah.
Like,
Look,
do you value your life? Please come. Please
at this
come.
point, I have one job. It's just to keep you alive. Would you please let me do my one job?
Okay, every year on his birthday, he turns to me and says, congratulations, mom. You've kept this house plant alive for another year. Celebrate me.
You know, like one of my good friends from like forever, like I met her when we were in third grade. One of her sons does that to her. When he was 3, he had stacked chair on high chair and
Oh
scaled
gosh.
the refrigerator,
Yep.
and the bread was on top of the refrigerator. And because she has like so many children, the bread bag had been covered in jelly and it had adhered to the top of the fridge. So
Mm-hmm.
she comes around the corner to see him like hanging from the bread bag that is stuck to the top of the fridge, trying to remove it. And she's like,
Gross.
my own, I'm trying to teach the other children into being great humans. I'm trying to raise them into being pillars in the community. I'm just trying to
And
keep
here
that one
you
alive. Like my goal for you is
are.
so much lower. I just need you breathing by 18.
Please continue existing. That is all I am hoping
I just need a pulse
for.
from you. Like the rest, I want success for.
You, I just want breath for.
Yeah, that's it. That will be
uh,
success alone.
dude. Owen has, in reference to jelly, I think this is so cute and it made me laugh so hard when I figured out what it was. I am like, as we know, not a morning person. And so getting ready for school in the morning is not my like forte. I try to be on top of it by doing things ahead of time before I go to bed,
Yeah.
but that doesn't always happen. So a couple of mornings this week, Owen's been like, hey, it's okay. I'll just make my sandwich. I'll make my lunch for you. Like, I'm big. I can do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I love this for us. This is awesome. You make great PB&Js. Like, I'm here for this because up to this year, he's always wanted like really fancy sandwiches. And I've been happy to oblige that because I love bougie kids.
This is the
And
same child that his idea of a breakfast taco is 1-inch cube squared cheese and hot sauce, right?
yes, same kid. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure that I have the meal prepped for, when you guys visit again.
Yes, that's him. He is all, but don't forget the tortilla. He is all about it. So twice this week, I've gone into the kitchen to use the kitchen scissors. They have 4 sets of them to use the kitchen scissors to open something, and they were stuck shut. And I'm like, what is wrong with my scissors? So the first time I'm like, whatever, maybe like they didn't get clean, like thoroughly cleaned in the dishwasher or something, right?
Right.
So I just throw them back in the sink. The second time it happens, I realize there's jelly on the blades. And Ian's standing in the kitchen with me and he's like, what is that? And I was like, I know what this is.
Coagulated blood. It's fine. Carry on.
And he immediately goes to like, Ethan. And I'm like, no, it's not Ethan. It's Owen. Get Owen in here. But you have to, whatever you're gonna say, you have to do it nicely because this is like this because he's been helping me out in the morning. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, he's made his own sandwiches this week and cut his sandwich up,
Yeah.
cut it in half.
It's like, whatever you do, don't end this for me. This is a good thing.
Yeah,
Hubs, don't do this.
right. Like, don't make him feel bad, which is at all not at all what he was trying to do. But like, I just wanted to put that out into the
Yeah.
universe. Like, I
Hmm.
need this is helping me. I
Yeah.
don't care that we have to wash the scissors again. Like, it's fine. And so he calls Owen in and he goes, "Hey, have you been cutting your sandwiches up?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bud." And I like cheered him apart right then. And Owen goes, "Oh." And Ian goes, "So what have you done with your scissors after you've made your sandwich?" And he goes,
I put him
uh,
back like I'm told to.
I put them in the drawer. Where do they go?"
Solid logic. I'm here for it.
I can really 100% get behind somebody that's putting it back where he found it, even if it's covered in jelly. Like, because I'm going to find it later that day and it's going to get washed. Like, it's
Right. And
super fine.
if they always put stuff back, most of the time that's a good thing.
Exactly. Like, I am not about to tell you you're wrong about this because I don't want you leaving the scissors on the counter. Like,
Right.
perfect. It's fine. But now I'm laughing like every time I go into the kitchen. What am I going to find with jelly stuck to it?
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
Good thing
So
he's...
it's funny we're talking about jelly
Oh, I'm so excited.
because I've got a story about condiments.
Is it Tabasco sauce?
No,
Okay.
but it's also not limit. Okay. This story was recommended to me from somebody on TikTok, and I was not smart enough to write down their name. And so, to the person who recommended the Northwest Butter Crimes, you
I'm
are
sorry.
incredible.
I need you to say that one more time.
The Northwest Butter Crimes.
Is this at all related to the great theft of maple syrup from Canada? Or
No,
like, oh,
no,
okay, so not breakfast
no,
crimes? Okay, okay.
no, 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 no. Um,
I'm so
it's
excited.
yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, wait, what? Okay, and it just it keeps kind of uh this is okay. Like I get to use some terms that I never thought I'd use before.
Okay, that's always exciting.
And
I learned some stuff.
I got to learn more about the history of the Pacific Northwest that I hadn't otherwise known.
I was thinking when you said something to me the other day about I'm keeping my story in the Pacific Northwest, it reminded me of that comment of keep Portland weird.
It's
And I
not
was
Portland.
like, no, I know. Well, I don't know, but it made me think that perhaps all of the Pacific Northwest is a treasure trove of stories. Because "Keep Portland Weird" is the motto of Portland.
I
So
mean, it's different up here. I will say that,
y'all
okay?
built different.
I honestly, because you think about like, okay, you think about Portland specifically, and it was founded really by lumberjacks who were fairly loners and, moved up here and established roots. See, and you kind of like, it's just different people. Like you wear your best plaid when you go to see the ballet.
That's Tuolumne County too.
Fair, fair point.
We don't even have a ballet.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I went to the Keller Auditorium. Hubs took me to go see like Shen Yu, like the Chinese ballet that comes through.
Hmm.
That's I'm not as cultured as I thought I was because I had a very tough time kind of sitting through that. But like, he's like, I've looked this up. When you go to the ballet, you wear a ball gown. He's like, here we go. Like, he didn't tell me we were going, and we got there, and he's dressed in a suit. I
Ugh,
have a coat and this gown on, and I see people in their best flannel, and I feel like a fish out of water.
the most overdressed person in the room.
Like, and there were others who were dressed up, but when you see, let's say, just three flannel shirts, you suddenly feel very uncomfortable, and the entire room is filled with flannel, and you alone are the sucker.
Dude, I identify with that so much. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've looked at Ian and been like, I am overdressed.
Yeah.
Like this, what do I do? Or one time, um, well, we went to an event in a bar under an overpass in Stockton, and I could have worn flannel that day, and I didn't. And
Mm,
I'm
hmm.
still years later like,
Yeah.
man,
You're
I could
still
have worn my
chapping your.
cowboy boots and flannel that day. And I dressed to the nines. What was I thinking? I knew this was a bar under an overpass in Stockton.
I mean, any one of those things separate should have been a this is
An
jeans
indicator.
and a torn t-shirt.
Listen, if you come in with pants on, you're winning. Like,
Right.
I that my brain was like, oh, I have this really cute flowy dress. I haven't worn it yet. Oh my god, I love this dress. It's floor length. It's maxi. It's
And
so
you walk in
flowy.
and your feet stick to the floor.
And I'm like, I could have worn boots because
Mm-hmm.
now my toes are out. What am I
Yep.
doing? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I
that
totally get this. I totally
yeah.
get where you're going with. Yeah.
So hold on to all of those thoughts. I'm gonna go off with my sources. There is an article called "The Creamery Robbery Turns Deadly" by Keith Shelton. The Newport City Marshal George Conniff is shot while interrupting a creamery burglary on September 14th, 1935 by Laura Arksey.
I can't take this seriously.
It okay. So it sounds like complete hijinks from just those, but I promise you, like you're gonna be like, you're going to commit to this as
Okay.
serious. So I'm going to start at a weird place, but I will go back. Okay. So remember, the crime was in 1935.
Okay.
Okay. 1989,
I was
the,
4.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
The oldest active cold case investigation was solved.
In the Pacific Northwest or just as a whole in the US?
Period.
Okay.
But to explain how this happened in 89, I get to back all the way up to give you some background.
Yay!
Okay.
Throw it in
Yeah.
reverse.
Yep. So here we go. 1835, we're in the Depression. Wages are low or they're non existent. The next sentence I wasn't prepared for. The price of butter was high and theft from creameries was fairly common.
In the Great Depression, like,
In the Great Depression. Like, okay, and then you think about it, you're like, oh, all of those depression recipes, it's like they used oil instead of butter. Like I was talking to my mother-in-law about this, and she was like, well, yeah, my mother's favorite cookie recipe, which was incredible, had oil instead of butter and used molasses instead of sugar. She goes, or it was shortening instead of oil. So it was like it was all shortening and molasses.
yeah, okay. I bet you those actually would be really good cookies.
Oh, they were incredibly good. But she's like, they all go straight, just you might as well just pack those cookies directly onto your hips, kind of deal.
Okay. Well, I could
Yeah,
use some more hips.
you're here for teeth rot and tummy bloat.
Oh, well, I don't want teeth rot.
I mean, we just got to brush. Only brush the teeth you want to keep. That's the rule.
Oh, I like all of mine. Thank you.
Okay, well then now you know what you've got to do. It's on you now.
Okay.
So
Crap.
one source said that a week's worth of butter cost a person an entire day's wages.
What is a week's worth of butter for the average person? Because I feel like I am not the average person.
I, great question. I didn't do that research, but I imagine it's not as high as yours by making that statement.
Yeah, I love butter. Butter goes on everything. My
I feel like
go-to
you're
dish is
setting the curve.
pasta and butter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, the average person and their average consumption cost them to work an entire day for a week's worth. And if you think about all the other things you got to buy, like food,
Oh,
like other food,
like actual edible food.
housing, like there are like the ability to get to work, like
Oh,
that's
gas?
disproportionate.
Ew. I don't like that.
So when we
I
think about,
love butter.
I know
I would be convicted of butter theft.
you would be doing the same thing. Okay, so put
Yeah.
yourselves in these shoes because butter and other products are stolen from creameries and other businesses and then delivered to restaurants of dubious character or otherwise fenced.
I,
So
I need restaurants of dubious character. Is
I
that like a restaurant wearing a trench coat in an alley offering? Like,
the hole in the wall had a much worse character.
oh, Oh, those are
Okay.
my favorite
The
restaurants.
greasy spoon, where
Oh,
you, so like, it's like, I'm imagining an entire butter fencing ring, a butter laundering cartel.
put me in charge. This sounds like something I can handle.
Yeah. Like all of this, I was just like, okay, huh? All right. So it's a September night in 1935, and Marshal George Conniff is performing his usual patrol, protecting homes and businesses in Newport, Washington, because
I
there's a
was gonna
Newport,
ask that.
Oregon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And there's a new port on the East Coast too, as well, right?
There's Newports like basically there's multiple Portlands, there's multiple Fresnos.
Yeah, like if
I
you
don't know
have
why
a
you want
port
multiple
city, you have a
Fresnos,
Newport.
but this Newport
Fisto.
is like very inland, close to Idaho.
Why is it called Newport then?
Don't ask me. I didn't name it. I wasn't there at the time. There's also a Hell, Michigan. So let's not get hung up on names.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
No, I know. And I broke it down. I was like, there's a Hell, Michigan. So just deal with it.
Yeah, and now I'm over here thinking about that town, and I think it's Sweden called fuck. Might not be Sweden, might be Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
sorry.
know about it either way, but I will look it up from here on out. So Newport is the county seat of Penn. I'm going to butcher the second one because I didn't look it up. O'Reilly County.
Okay.
All right. But either way, it's next to Idaho because I did look that up. George, the Marshal, George Conniff, he is a family man. He's well respected in the community. As he had been in nearby Sandpoint, Idaho. So, like right up at the top where that point is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And when he was in Sandpoint, he served as the chief of police. So he's career lawman. Conniff came upon three men crouched in an alley behind the Newport Creamery and demanded that they explain their presence. The only answer was a volley of gunfire from the fleeing men. And
Y'all, these were men with pregnant wives at home.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. It's good that you have a theory about who did it. Conniff fires back, but he sustained wounds from which he would die the next day at St. Luke's Hospital in Spokane. The burglars appeared to escape unharmed.
Figures.
Yeah. So Penn O'Reilly County Sheriff Elmer Black immediately ordered roadblocks get set up.
Hold up. The sheriff's name is Elmer Black.
Elmer Black. Sheriff
Okay,
Black.
Dick Gorgeous.
I don't know if those two compete. I feel like Dick Gorgeous is head and shoulders above, but it's still, good name.
All right.
So because again, this is a fellow law officer that's been shot. So he's immediately setting up roadblocks. And at one roadblock, there is a driver that is allowed to pass through on the north edge of Spokane. That driver is Spokane Police Detective Clyde Ralston, who briskly waved his police identification at the rookie manning the roadblock and was allowed through. His passenger wasn't questioned at all. So I'm imagining he flashes his badge and says something to the rookie cop about just needing to get through and disappears. Like he's like, look, kid, I've been at this for a while. I'm going that way.
And this is now why rookies have training officers.
These are things.
As you do.
During the next few days, Sheriff Black interrogates a number of possible suspects, mostly men in the area with criminal records. And especially suspicious, there was a truck that was stolen by nearby Priest River, Idaho, the night of the crime. And Spokane Police Detective Charles F. Sonnabend later finds abandoned in the Northern Pacific Depot. So he finds this truck and he's like, there's something fishy here. I feel like these might be connected.
I'm so sorry because it just hit me right in the face that this is about butter. And so like when you're like, and then there's an abandoned truck, I'm like, oh God.
It wasn't a small amount of butter is what I'm imagining. Like when that's actual truckloads.
That's what just hit me in the face. Carry on.
Yep.
I am trying to maintain myself over here.
I mean, it's just trying to think about measuring currency in today's butter.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, okay. So my favorite butter is like $5 or $6.
Oh yeah. No, because I do the Kerrygold.
Yeah.
You said block, so you're getting the gold wrappers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you and I are both on the same page. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's worth its weight, in my opinion.
So start measuring things in currency. We're going from the metric system to measuring things in butter.
Well, we went from metric to bacon to butter.
For our next trick.
For our next trick, we'll be measuring things in the width of cupcakes.
Mm, I'm here. Okay. So anger and fear are running high in the Newport area, but Sheriff Black, he's doing everything that he can do to head off vigilante action that he fears. The Spokane police, they're conducting, I love this word, a desultory investigation. And then
What is that?
they're just like, we're kind of over it already. They are not here for it. They're kind of like, so somebody stole $15 million in butter. Who cares? Like the GDP of a small developing country in butter has been handed off and it's fine. Whatever. We didn't get the butter. We don't care about the butter. The butter is not
where
ours.
did, where did $15 million in butter come from?
I don't know. I was just thinking about, the fuzzy street math that always happens with drug busts.
Kilos, it's kilos of butter.
Kilos of butter. 15 kilos of butter. So they quickly hand the case back to the Penn Oriole County the Sheriff's Department, and the forensics lab in Seattle determines the bullets from Conniff's body came from a 32 caliber revolver.
Okay.
That's about all they really know, but hold that thought because that's going to become important eventually. A major breakthrough happens with the arrest of several people connected to the creamery burglaries in Montana and elsewhere.
Oh my God. So this is like multiple states are involved.
Multiple states. Like this is, like I said, a butter laundering cartel.
So there is a task force for butter.
There's not a task because again, it was a desultory investigation. Like nobody's really giving this much effort. Like they're kind of half-assing it the entire time.
Desultory. Don't throw this word at
Desultory.
me.
I'm going to every single time because these words are fantastic and I am bringing them back.
As they should be. I'm here for it.
So you remember that detective that kind of flashed his badge at the young rookie cop and was like, just let me through. I don't need to be here. Like, I'm trying to go someplace. This truck's got places to be. So that dude was Ralston. And Ralston has a friend who has the best name, AC Logan.
Okay, I love it.
Yep. AC's thought to be operating this ring out of Spokane, and it's pilfering butter, hams, and bacon from the creameries. And they believe that these were all fenced from a restaurant or fenced through a restaurant called Mother's Kitchen, which was coincidentally a favorite hangout for the Spokane police, the same people who did that desultory investigation.
The plot
Coincidence.
thickens.
Okay, the owner of Mother's Kitchen, Virgil Birch, employs a unusually large staff of waitresses, some of whom could be counted on to provide more than just food service.
Oh. So it's like a butter brothel? Yeah, daytime.
I mean, it's a full service kitchen.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I mean, butter brothel was pretty fantastic. So
you should see the images in my brain right now.
Please and thank you. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look, I get that we all have our own bins. I'm not here to kink shame. I'm also not here to be a part of them.
You're gonna need to send Ian an apology card because he's gonna have to hear about the images in my brain now.
I'll put money in his Venmo for therapy.
There's $58 for the hour that you will need.
Cheers to you that your therapy is that low. So I'm assuming just copay.
Yeah, just copay, yeah.
So, however, Detective Sonneban, he tries to follow up on the possible connection between the Newport burglary, the murder. His superior, Daniel Mangan, stops the investigation.
Was it an inside job?
Even Sheriff Black from Penn O'Reilly County is never granted permission to speak with the suspect, AC Logan, at McNeil Island Penitentiary.
Oh my goodness.
So not getting to speak to the suspect, that was a red flag. That is the factory of red flags.
Yeah. Inside job.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive deeper into AC Logan and Clyde Ralston and kind of explore that. 20 years later, 1955, the new Penn O'Reilly County Sheriff, William M. Giles, is able to arrange a meeting between Detective Charles Sonneman, the one who found the truck and is kind of like trying to bird dog this investigation, and then the former Sheriff, Elmer Black, and the United States Marshal, Darrell O. Holmes. They attend, and so they're talking to Sonneman, this detective, and he makes this statement. During that time, back in 1835, there were a lot of creamery
1935
robberies.
or 1835?
1935. If I misspoke, sorry.
I was like, wait, hold on.
It was a long depression. It was a long depression. Mixed up in this, there was a fellow who was sent to the federal penitentiary for interstate motor vehicle theft. After 3 weeks of questioning the suspect, AC Logan broke and admitted he was part of the creamery robberies. He also put the finger on one of the city detectives, Clyde Ralston, who owned a ranch a short distance from Spokane. According to Logan, there were several men connected with the ring, but the stolen butter was taken to Ralston Ranch and later disposed through Mother's Kitchen, located on Riverside in Spokane. And I looked, it's no longer there. It's now a parking lot.
Oh, that's so sad.
Because I was like, okay, I'll go visit my sister, and on the way I'll stop in Spokane and I'll sit in the butter ring itself.
Yeah.
But I can't because it's gone. But Logan admits to breaking into a boxcar and stealing shoes, which were later taken to the Ralston Ranch for later disposal. Logan admitted to robbing a wholesale house in Spokane of cigarettes, cigars, and tobacco, which were also disposed of through Mother's Kitchen.
Mother's Kitchen was the go-to, man.
I mean, I can't imagine what it looked like in their back room. It had to look like a general store. You've got hams hanging from the ceiling. You've got a tobacco counter. Like, this is the weirdest diner.
I'm just imagining like me telling Ian, I need you to go get me some butter, and him being like, well, I got a guy. Like, like that's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
Like, not just going to the local grocer and getting your butter from the butter counter, but you got a guy, and then he brings home a ham while he's there.
And honey, I got a great deal on cigars. I know we don't smoke, but they were super cheap.
Yeah, we'll just look at them for.
Yeah, we'll offer them to barter for somebody else. Maybe they have some eggs. Maybe they have a butter connection when our guy runs out. You know, we just got to put these in the safe.
Yeah,
So, okay, there's more going on with Sonneman's statement. He says the night of the Conniff murder, the Spokane police constructed a blockade north of the city limits of Spokane. It's conducted by 2 rookie officers, and they told Sergeant Mangan, remember the guy who shuts down the investigation, that they stopped a car that was boiling and hot and appeared as though it had been driven very hard. Driving the car was Detective Ralston. He had another person with him. Ralston was very close to had a very close friend, AC Logan. Logan was the only man of the gang who could go directly to the Ralston Ranch. Sergeant Mangan, the guy who puts the kibosh on stuff, he retires from the department in 1839 or 1939. Mangan knows all about the murder and the affiliation of Ralston and Logan. Ralston is supposedly the ringleader.
The Detective Ralston.
Yeah. The one who flashed his badge and said, just let me through the blockade, boys.
Right. Figures. It's always that guy.
You know, we've seen enough movies.
Yeah.
At the time of the arrest of Logan, he was with his accomplice. Logan was with his accomplice and 2 women in a stolen car from Montana. Their car was searched, as well as their hotel room. A .32 automatic and a .38 special were found in the room. The guns were kept by the police department. The same gun was signed out by the Spokane Police Department by Ralston just before or just after the creamery robbery. Ralston reports it's stolen. It's later reported to have been thrown in the Spokane River.
The gun that shot the police officer that
came
It was the detective in the hallway with the 32 and a handful of butter.
That's always been missing from the clue game, and we just didn't know it till now.
I think we're just gonna wipe it all over the board, make it slippery, add
That
another
sounds,
element.
I hate all of it.
You're welcome. I'll
So
Venmo you some money for your therapy.
yeah, we're just going to send it back and forth. So it's at this point in all the reporting that they start referring to Sonneborn in the third person. So it seems like, the report shifts to being written by Giles, right? The current sheriff. After Logan made his confession to Sonneborn, or Detective Sonneborn, all the reports went to the chief. Ralston was fired from the police force. Logan stated that Ralston was in on all the creamery robberies that he himself was involved in. So AC Logan flips entirely. Like, he just gives him up.
As you do.
Your name's AC, not Strongbox.
Yeah.
Sonneborn believes that Ralston is the man who killed Conniff and that Sergeant Mangan knew all of this. He also believes that it was Logan who was with Ralston the night the car was stopped at the North City limits by the two rookie officers. Like, dun, dun, dun. And you know the source for this?
The rookie officer.
Actually, no, I won't tell you the source yet. I'll tell you the source of like that whole quote at the end. I realize that, because this is incredible.
I'm imagining like posses of rifled men guarding the creameries at this point, being paid in butter.
I'll give you 3 days worth of butter if you man this for one day.
That's what I'm imagining. It's kind of justice I'm here for. Butter justice.
The butter bartering system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sheriff Giles, he's unable to track down any of the people that Sonneborn mentions. And 2 years later, Sonneborn's on his deathbed, and he summons Giles to the hospital room, and he confesses that he's the officer who took the gun from AC Logan and later gave it to his own nephew.
Oh, wait, so you're saying AC Logan committed the crime,
No.
officer?
No. Sonneborn, he's the one who signed the gun. He takes the gun from AC Logan, and then instead of because remember the gun goes missing, right?
Right. Okay, sorry, I got my names.
No, you're fine. There's tons of names. I tried to streamline this, and I just couldn't. So I'm going to give you a map, and we're going to go through this. It'll be fine.
Family tree. Okay.
We're going to get through it. Sonneborn insists that Sergeant Mangan knew everything. The police officer who was fired. He's like, look, he knows everything. And I keep thinking none of these people are telling the truth the first round, And that's it kind of drives me crazy. So now we're gonna fast forward to the 80s.
Okay.
And
I love knowing I was alive for a portion of this.
Oh, I mean, this next part gets nuts, right? The sheriff of the Penn County, Oregon, is a dude named Tony Bamonte, and he becomes increasingly dissatisfied with the lack of progress towards solving the cold case, and he reopens it. As this is going on, he's completing his master's degree at Gonzaga University, and he decides to focus on the past sheriffs of Penn, Oregon County, or Oriole, or O'Reilly. I'm going to name it something different every time I say it, for his thesis.
Okay.
The research provided much of the background for reopening this case. So he just decides he's going to turn his thesis into basically a nonfiction detective story.
Yeah. Hey, whatever gets the job done. He's knocking two birds out with one stone here.
Can you imagine being the thesis advisor? This is a real life detective novel and not some feminist critique of Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well. And I'm dissing myself here.
Was that what your master's was on?
No, my master's was an MBA. So I actually did female leadership or females in tech leadership and kind of
That's what I thought. So just now, okay, when you're like, okay,
look, I wrote so many papers.
Shakespeare was involved.
No, I wrote so many papers, identifying feminist critiques on Shakespeare's plays and things like that. That was my undergrad, right? So I'm looking at this this kicks the pants off of anything. It's much more exciting and it's applicable to work. Can
Yeah,
you
I
get
mean,
any better?
that's why I said he's killing two birds with one stone.
I'm here for it. And
Yeah.
so he reaches out, but when Bamonte contacts the Spokane Police Department on March 2nd, 1989, and he tells them his suspicions of Ralston and the others should cover for him, and he gets a belated reply, meaning they don't even respond right away, and they respond with, find no employment records of any of the people or officers, and most of the principals that are involved are dead anyhow.
So somebody scrubbed the records.
Not only did somebody scrub the records, but it's also a report of tons of people not wanting to do their job. Like, look,
So
I couldn't find it immediately. I looked for about the original investigation was quote unquote desultory, but I too am from this same stock years later, and I'm looking around going, yeah, I kind of can't be bothered to do my job either.
so this really ties into my former story about the missing crown jewels.
Quite, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, it's a ton of people not wanting to do their job. Like, I hate experiencing that, but I am here to read it
Oh, absolutely, because it creates the most delightful blunders.
because you look at it, you're like, yep, yeah, no, this is when Nathaniel couldn't be bothered to give me that report, and it caused this entire chain of reactions, and now I'm stuck on the end of it.
Because you had one job.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Nathaniel's name may or may not have been changed in efforts of retelling that story.
Sorry, Nathaniel.
I'm not. However,
I don't know him, so we're good.
I didn't say his last name. However, as news of Bamonte's effort spread, people with information finally began to come forward, just as Sonneban had done on his deathbed. A frail 86-year-old Dan Mangan was one. Mangan, who puts the kibosh on the investigation. Mangan recalls, I knew Ralston fairly good. I knew he was into something. I didn't know what. I heard he was involved in the creamery burglaries and what he was peddling. I never had much contact with Ralston, but he hung around with some shady characters. He was always mixed up with some dairy business in the cafe.
As in the cafe.
Mothers.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I
remind you,
mean,
like all the police are hanging out at mother's kitchen. Right? Like this was the place. That's where you hung out after your shift.
well, what better place to launder than right in front of the police?
I mean, with other police. And you
Yeah,
go
you're
there because it's like they're going to feed you. They've got waitresses that will entertain you in a
they
myriad of ways.
do.
Get some pancake, pick up some cigars on your way home. Like, this doesn't sound like a bad place to hang out if you're with all your work buddies.
Yeah. It's like those all in one truck stops.
Right.
There's like a dentist in there and a barber shop.
And you get a shower and a Cinnabon.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Okay, so Mangan, he also goes to state that the Spokane chief of police called him and his partner into the office and gave us this package. His partner, Harrison Hacker Cox.
Oh, that's a name.
Hacker is your nickname. And one of the sources claimed that Hacker's nickname came from the fact that he would just belt people in the face. And they said they would hack, like he would hack at them, like suspects.
Okay.
Not as in like, modern day hackers where you crack the database and now you understand
Right.
all of the trade secrets. Okay, not that. They come out and the police chief says that this is Ralston's package. I knew about the murder. I thought this might have been the murder weapon, and it's been on my mind ever since. Hey, take this package. And it's right after the murder. Like I'm just sitting here like, oh dear Lord. So Mangan's partner, Bill Parsons, he drives the car and watches as Mangan throws this package into the Spokane River from the Post Street Bridge. And so it's like, you're a cop. You know that this crime has just happened. You know that another law officer has been murdered. And your police chief gives you this package that strangely feels like the weight of a gun. You know what a gun is. You handle a gun every day. And you're told to dispose of it. And you don't open it. You just blindly follow.
Okay, so two things. If you're just following orders, air quotes,
Yeah, yeah.
and you never open the package, you can't technically be implicated in any of the crimes, right? Um, but once you open the package and you've seen what it is, you are now obligated to do something about it.
Okay.
Is there a internal affairs bureau at this time that you could have reported that to? I mean, obviously you would have been called a snitch at that point and probably been thrown off, but that's how
If
justice works.
if the police chief, another office, like if it's another officer and the police chief's not involved, I feel like you've got a pretty decent shot. But as soon as your boss is talking about and hands you something that is likely from another police officer, I feel like the corruption is too far gone at that point. I don't know if
Yeah.
internal affairs is there, but I feel like the apple is too far rotted.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
So at least somebody does something right, because Mangan's partner contacts the FBI 2 days later.
Oh, good.
They advise him to keep quiet.
Because they're also visiting mothers
They
and
have their
getting
own
butter.
butter laundering ring, and I have no idea. That'll be next week's story. So another important piece of information comes in on April 1989 from a woman named Pearl, and her last name is Keogh. So Kyo, Cow.
Okay.
I'm assuming the GH is the G is silent, like in through. So Q, an
Okay. Yeah.
85-year-old woman. She's 85, but she had known Ralston, Mangan, and Virgil Birch, who owned Mother's Restaurant. I'm thinking she's likely a member of the wait staff. Um, she tells Beaumonte that she'd gone to the police with evidence early in the investigation and been told to mind her own business.
Oh.
This checks. This checks. This seems par for the course.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Pearl Cow collaborates with Beaumonte on what he'd already learned and added to the information implicating Virgil Birch. At dinner at her house in 1940, Birch had bragged about being with Ralston when he shot Conniff, and that he was under
Oh,
a tarp in the back seat of the getaway car that was allowed to pass through the North Spokane roadblock.
the body was
No, no, no.
in the.
No, Virgil Birch, the owner of Mother's, was hiding
Oh,
under a tarp.
okay.
They
Okay.
they left the body at the scene.
Right. Well, that's. I was like,
Yeah,
wait a
because he
minute.
had to
I
get to the
thought.
hospital.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he had that. Like, yeah. She'd also said that she'd handled butter with Newport Creamery wrappers on it at Mother's Restaurant, and years later, when she moved into a house that was once owned by Birch, she found Newport Creamery wrappers stashed away in a closet.
Because you can't just throw those in the regular garbage because laundering.
I mean, I'm just imagining an entire closet filled hoarder style with butter wrappers. And I'm assuming they're not the clear butter wrappers of like the ones you get from just the grocery store, like the medium, like this is the store bought brand. I'm assuming these are gold, Kerrygold wrapper style wrappers.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
and
am too.
it's not like you're going to recycle them. I mean, I know it's the Depression, but you're not going to like wrap your Christmas presents in butter
Why wouldn't you
papers.
burn them? I wonder if there was like a wax seal on it, like a waxy.
I mean, we joke about some of the people in more rural towns in our area kind of burning their tires in their front yard. And I can only imagine like burning was probably much more prevalent. But yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why you didn't get rid of evidence, specifically when you're a cop.
yeah. Like that is a very real question. I have follow up questions.
These are all good things. But Mrs. Co's husband had apparently been a friend of Ralston's and had sworn her to secrecy on the matter. And after he died, she phones Beaumonte with the information that Ralston once boasted about in her presence about shooting Conniff.
Ugh.
So she, like, again, all of this goes all the way to the top. Everybody knows everything, and everybody knows everybody's business, and everybody is told
So
to
this is
keep
the exact
quiet.
opposite of if more than two people know the secret, somebody's got to go. Like this is, you know what? We're just going to tell everybody.
But they're waiting for people to die. They're waiting for the end of their lives to all come forward. And it's all because this guy's writing his thesis.
Hey, whatever works.
Okay, so back to this man writing his thesis, right? So in August, the Washington Water Power Company, that uses the controlled flow of the Spokane River, orders an inspection drawdown. So August 22nd of 1989, this rare event of, kind of letting the water levels low enables Bamonte to walk around the dry riverbed. And within 10 minutes, Bamonte finds the corroded gun exactly where Mangan said that he dropped it.
Oh,
The
the
Washington,
weapon.
yes, Washington Crime Laboratory in Seattle confirms it's the 32 caliber revolver that is the same weapon used in the murder of Conniff, and that the
Mm.
deterioration of the metal is consistent with having been in the water for over 50 years.
So that is okay. I'm just thinking of how water works and how crazy it is that it sat in the same place for 50 years. Like, obviously, it's heavy,
Yeah.
right? But like that long, it sat there that long.
But he only had to look 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So January 23rd of 1990, Clyde Ralston dies at
Oh,
St. Ignace, Montana, a free man, popular in his community.
of
Now
course.
he'd left Spokane in 37, continuing a new life in law enforcement, apparently without scandal, without a hint of scandal. And
So he's
Tony
like the perfect
Bamonte,
upstanding citizen.
yeah. And so, but Tony Bamonte visits this community and is vilified in St. Ignatius for supposedly having hounded a harmless old man to his death.
Oh,
He's like, I'm just trying to write my paper. Everybody's saying that you're the dude. Can you just say that you're the dude? I'm trying to wrap this up. I'd love to graduate. Graduation's coming up soon. I've got to get this next chapter submitted to the thesis about, would you work with me? And he just does the unthinkable, declines everything and dies. And everyone goes, what a jerk.
well, rude.
Yeah. 1992, the New York Times publishes, or in 1992, Thomas Egan of the New York Times publishes his bestseller, I cannot talk, Breaking Blue, based on this story.
Okay.
Tony Bamonte donated the murder weapon and his collection of documentary evidence to the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture.
So you're saying we could take a trip of museums and visit the murder weapon and within like a couple of days visit Santa Anna's leg?
Yeah, we could.
That's awesome.
And it's nuts because you think about it, it's like Tony Bamonte, he was really just trying to finish, his work. He was just trying to get this cold case solved and get his thesis done. And as a result of this, he's now a respected historian and publisher in Spokane.
I love this for him.
Right? And it's all because he was just trying to get some work done. And it feels like he might have been the only person in the history of that department to feel like that needed to happen.
Well, I mean, because everybody else was getting kickbacks from mothers.
Look,
So
man, I've got a good couple pats of butter coming to me. If I just keep my mouth shut, I'm
yeah, like
gonna
free butter for
say
life.
no comment.
And Mr. Bustamante, is that
Bamonte?
Bamonte?
Bustamante was
Mr.
the president of Mexico for a hot minute.
right, for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Our guy is the only one that is living outside of those times also, right? So he can like just go to the store and buy butter.
Yeah, he's like, look, butter's affordable now. I don't need to wave a couple butter wrappers under your nose to get you to follow me.
Exactly. Oh my god.
But it was this whole thing. I was just like, this is about butter
From the beginning.
from
Like butter.
butter. Like literally, you could substitute oil or shortening, but it's like we're going to kill people
For butter.
for butter, for better or for worse.
Hey, those that's what this episode's going to be called. For better or for worse. I've chosen the name. That's what it is. I'm just thinking like how many of these men had pregnant wives at home that like I need my chocolate chip cookies with butter right now. Or in my case, while I'm not pregnant, sometimes you just have to have pasta and butter.
Right.
And Ian makes it best. So how many of them were just desperate, Mother's has butter. I guess I'll be part of this butter ring.
Maybe
Laundering
butter was
ring.
made differently. Maybe it all had cocaine in it and they all just were addicted to butter.
I mean, that checks, right? Like cocaine was there. It was in.
I mean, it's not like the 1800s, right? So maybe we're going too far back by just, adding a little bit of
Oh yeah,
morphine
like
to our
using
our
cocaine
goods.
as your medicine for everything.
Right. Having a container that just sits on the counter. I mean, that was obviously at the pharmacy. It wasn't at the not in your common pantry next to the flour.
um, last night I poured Parmesan cheese on the stove on accident, and the first thing that came to my mind was, "This is the devil's cheese." For all the names that cocaine has, that was what came to my mind. I'm like, I have to figure out how to clean this up now. This made me laugh.
I
For
love that.
better or for worse. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, did anybody serve any time in the end for this? Or they like all died, and
I mean,
nobody
nobody,
got.
yeah, no, they were all like, I can't find anything about today, breaking news. So and so was arrested for 50-year-old butter laundering schemes and crimes.
You know how you hear about, because I'm sure there's a statute of limitation.
But I mean, it
I've
ended
seen
with
like
murder. Like, I feel like I don't think murder has a statute. Does it?
um I'm gonna have to Google that. I don't know, because I know like Nazi war criminals can still be tried today in their 90s and early hundreds,
Right.
but those are war crimes and those don't have a statute. I don't know if murder does.
But like, I feel like a lot of that, they got him on piracy charges. Like, that's how it started,
Yeah.
which is a weird one because it's like they were looking at international laws and it's like you moved people from here to here that can constitute, like, I feel like that was the nuance. And now that I say that, I feel like I'm talking out of my butt and I got people angry at me and I should probably not say it with such conviction.
You know, we weren't there. So we're looking at it through a rear view mirror anyway, right?
Yeah, no, but it looks like the only person who really served any time was AC Logan, but he was in the pen and not for that. He was just kind of,
There.
yeah.
Mm. I want to know. I would love to hear some of the stories of the waitresses, the wait staff there. Like, because you hear all these, like, you have all these stories of other brothels and other places where these women have these just crazy lives that their story's so worth telling. But like, so my grandma was a waitress for a guy who laundered butter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hear grandma's stories.
I want to be in the room when the police were all seated together and concocting this butter laundering scheme.
Oh my, yeah, that's way better than being in the room when Sharknado was decided to become a film.
Right. Like, I want to be like, you know what chaps my hide? The cost of butter. You know what we should do? We should break it. We've got lock picking kits. We know how to do it. You're right, Ralston. Why don't you leave? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna steal a truck. Oh, a
We
truck.
can fit a
Yeah.
lot of butter in a truck.
I bet three of us could pack this truck to the brim, but we'd need a place to get rid of it. Pawn shops, no. Like, pawn shops are not a good place for You're right. You know what? These pancakes are
Vernon, I
really
got an
good.
idea.
Virgil, come over here.
Virgil, sorry, I got my name
Virgil,
wrong.
have a seat.
I
How do
got an
you
idea.
like paying for all of this butter from Newport Cream? You don't. Boy, have
Have
we
we
an
got a
idea.
deal?
So my buddy's going to back up a truckload of butter. And I know you like that thick cut Canadian bacon. So we're going to pilfer some hams while we're there.
Could you imagine being in that stockroom that day when the hams arrived, but they weren't on like the master list of things that were supposed to come into
The
shop? And you're
packing
like,
list, and you're like,
yeah, the
oh,
hell am I gonna do with all these?
look, I'm just the stock goblin. I don't have room for 50 hams and 5 truckloads of butter.
That guy quit his job.
I'm moving the flour into the hallway and the break room and the employee bathroom, and I don't want to hear a thing because I've got to put the butter in the walk-in.
That's the day you quit. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Peace. Bye. There's
You
no
don't
amount of
quit because
butter.
it's the depression.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. I
Like
guess. Yeah, a
you
job's a
you're
job at that
stuck.
point. I guess you move back in with mom.
Yeah, you're
Well,
either like,
you
go ahead.
already, probably already did, now that I think about it.
Everybody lived in your one bedroom.
Yeah. Ugh. You know what makes me laugh? Totally. I get, well, maybe this isn't funny, but I chuckle about it anyway. My grandmothers both lived through the Great Depression, right?
That's typically how we
Um,
got here, is somebody in our lines lived through it.
right. I specifically my mother's mother, I don't I don't know that they really suffered like the rest of the populace.
Were they the
I
head
don't
of the money, the butter laundering?
no, not that I'm aware of. Um, but my grandmother had like a crazy like the stuff I learned about her. I never got to meet her, so the stories I've heard, she was a very interesting woman. But I'm just thinking like I don't think that her family particularly dealt with any of the real problems of the depression. However, that being said, my mother still washes the Ziploc bags and saves them.
Mm.
I'm like, Mom, you weren't even alive.
Like that said, I will say my family, my nuclear, the one I am currently a part of, my household, um, we wash our Ziploc bags, but that is because we're a part of the granola eating hippies that like buy the nice thick silicone bags that are reusable.
So same, we do the same thing. And so I laugh every night when I'm washing out our sandwich bags because they're reusable sandwich bags.
Yep.
Not because we are depression era children, but because we really don't need to be throwing away our sandwich bags. This like we use them for the same thing every day. Like we can just clean them out.
Yep.
So it makes me laugh because like here we've come full circle. Like our ancestors would be like, "Oh, good, you're washing the bags."
Yeah, you're not as wasteful as the chumps before. That bag costs 3 cents. That's a meal's worth of butter.
Right. It makes me laugh knowing that she does stuff like, and when you ask her about it, she's like, "We I learned it from my mother." I'm like, "But
There was okay, so you say that, and and when I was in my intro to psych class in college, they were talking about how certain things are handed down and we don't necessarily question them. Like
right?
one person said, like the example in the textbook was, I cut the end off my roast because my mother did.
Yes,
And
I've
then
read this."
the quote from the grandmother was, I cut the end off my roast because my oven's too small to fit the entire thing in.
And but we've been doing it this way for generations now, like four
Yeah,
generations of
but
people. Yeah,
it's like it the original reason behind it gets lost, but you do the thing that was originally made sense, but now it doesn't make sense because the oven is so much larger and now you could fit an entire turkey in there, but it's like you do what you had to do at the time.
right. And then you just continue like, yeah. I think about that all the time. Like, what are my children gonna do that is irrelevant in their life, but that they learned from us? And I genuinely believe that this will be it. My oven does not fit a full size cookie sheet. It is only 28 inches wide.
Having been in your kitchen, I never noticed.
Neither did we till we tried to put a full size cookie sheet in there.
I would be pissed. That is the worst time to figure that out.
Uh huh. And so, me being a baker, this is a real problem for me.
Right.
And I have wanted to buy like a whole new house since discovering this because the oven doesn't fit. And in order to put an oven in that space that fits, we might as well just remodel the entire kitchen because you have to cut so much space out of the counters and the
Yeah.
cupboards to do it.
And you have a
So,
galley kitchen. You don't have like,
right. So these are like things we've talked about, different like solutions for this. But anyway, one of the things that Ian has done for me in a to have the ability to put like a full 12 muffin tin in there is he buys all of my muffin tins and then goes out into the garage and bends the corners up so they have handles so the
oh,
thing can slide into the thing. So my children are just like, oh yeah, that's what you do with cookie sheets.
you just bend up the outsides.
Yeah, yeah, that's just what you do. And I
We've
think
got
to
special
myself,
pliers that bend cookie sheets.
yeah, I think to myself, that's gonna be the thing that they remember and but forget the reason why. But like generations from now, their kids' are still gonna be bending the rolls of the edges of the cookie sheets. And then somebody's going to be like, why do we do this? And then eventually it's going to be like, oh, our great granddad did it for his wife
For
because the
his crazy wife Angie, great grandma Angie, the
right.
loon.
You remember her? Right. So she could put all 12 of the cupcakes in one go.
I got a depression era story from my family.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, so at one point I was going through my grandmother's jewelry box. This was years and years ago, and I found this really incredibly bizarre and crazy necklace, and I was like, "What the hell am I looking at?"
So like
Like,
a like
oh, I have to like I can't even tell you what it looked like right now, but I have to go through the full story so that you're able to picture it because it's so bizarre. There were no words. And she
okay.
goes, "That was made by your crazy great aunt Mildred." And I was like, "What? What?" And
I
she
want a
goes,
story of Great Aunt Mildred.
"Apparently, having lived through the depression and being from my grandfather's side of the family, which was very huge, large family, they did a lot of things to save money, a lot of handicrafts for things. And so when my grandmother joined the family, the gift that she got from great aunt Mildred was this necklace. And great aunt Mildred had been saving the neck bones of chickens. And then she took each individual vertebrae and she painted it with red nail polish, like several coats, because this was completely solid. It's very well done. And then she interwove each vertebrae with a fake pearl.
I I love this.
It was, I mean, I kind
Please
of
tell me this is in a shadow box somewhere now.
no, I don't, I think it got thrown out. Like, I don't think that that was even passed on, but it was the most insane thing to see.
I bet.
And my grandmother was like, I felt bad because she obviously spent so much time on it. It was a long necklace. It went down, like, we're talking mid chest. There was a ton of neck bones that went into this. And each one had to be like saved and the carcass boiled away and meticulously picked apart and then individually painted
And your
and
great aunt
turned and you
Mildred
paint
is
the other
like,
side.
I know who's gonna get this neck bone necklace. It's a
It
necklace of neck bones.
Yeah, this goes to the new bride of Rick, Francine.
I love this.
I mean, trust me, telling the story is so much better than having to look at the thing.
Pictures or it never existed.
I mean, so there is that. And so with that, I'll never be able to prove that it existed other than who would make up something that insane.
Yeah, that's truly one of those things you can't write that crap. Like that had to happen.
Right. Somebody somewhere did something similar or that exactly.
What were great Aunt Mildred's spiritual beliefs? I'm just curious.
I mean, could you imagine if she had access to Pinterest, the kind of crap we'd all
I'm here for it. Tell her I'm adoptable.
yeah, suddenly she has an Etsy shop with 40,000 sales, 5-star reviews, and everyone's like, this white elephant gift nailed it.
Amazing. Also, she has an inn with a buttery
Oh,
and chickens. It's weird. Like she has to buy so many chickens.
mhm.
She could unsettle the entire chicken
Economy. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah. She is the Mansa Musa of her time.
I love her. Please tell your grand aunt Mildred I love her.
I'll be sure to mention that. Um, on that note, I'm going to call this episode. I feel like
God.
that's what I do. I get tired of sitting down and I say that I'm done now. I'm through
Okay.
with you. You may leave.
You're excused. You're dismissed. Carry
Yeah,
on then. Well, that works because I have to drop Ethan off in 20 minutes.
that's fair. But if you've enjoyed hanging out with us, know that it's samesies. Do so regularly, and you might do so by hitting that subscribe button on this podcast so that you automatically get alerted to whenever we do something new and fun. We plan on dropping episodes every Friday, so subscribe, review, share with your friends, force them to listen to this too, so that they wonder if you need to be checked into a psych ward. And before, during, or after your admission, please message us. We'd love to hear from you at
From the psych ward.
Yes, unhinged.historypod@gmail.com. And on that note, goodbye.
Bye.